Hey guys, thanks for watching. Give us a like and a subscribe. We're going to wait for you. Here we go. We're waiting for you. Go ahead, hit it. I see you're hitting it. Good job. Good job, you too. Very good. All right. All right, today, what's for dinner? Peach glazed chicken and Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time is a new game by Toys for Bob and published by Activision. It is essentially the same game as Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. But let's find out what the guys think. Let's switch to Pat today first.
You would pick me. You would pick me. I'm not every time we get these platformer games, I seem to go first. I am not a platformer anymore. I'm too old for this stuff anymore.
And it's fun to watch.
Yeah. If you're going to watch the video, if you're watching the gameplay video on YouTube that we recorded, that's me playing. So you're going to see tons of dying because I died a lot. And I don't know how I could die so much and keep playing, but I did. It took me probably 4 times as long to get through a level as most people take on these type of games, but half the time I don't know. I didn't play a lot of the previous Crash Bandicoots because I knew what I was getting into. So because of the podcast, I played it, and I played it a lot more than I would have anyway. And so it's a typical platformer game, you know. It's jumping, it's spinning, it's attacking, it's jumping over things, it's dodging stuff. It's trying to hit that little bitty platform just right, phasing in and out just right. You know, it's all that kind of stuff. Crash Bandicoot seems a little bit more difficult than it probably should be, in my opinion, because there's a lot of weird mechanics that just make you go, why in this game? So, for me, it's not in my wheelhouse, but it's not a bad game. It's just not, it's a platformer, so that's not for me. Nick, what'd you think about this one, man?
I like platformers. For Crash Bandicoot, I've never been a big fan of Crash Bandicoot, even back in the PlayStation era. Crash Bandicoot was always a fun game. It's just never one that I really cared that if it came around, it came around. If it didn't, it didn't. So, if Crash Bandicoot, for me, if Crash Bandicoot never rebooted itself, I wouldn't have shed a tear for it. So that's just the type of, I just didn't really care for Crash Bandicoot even back then. And now, again, I just don't really care for it. I mean, it's a good platformer. It really is. It's got good mechanics, and for people that are looking for a good platforming game, it's a fun game to play. But I just couldn't get into it. I would start playing, and then about, I don't know, it would almost seem like 5 minutes into it, I'd just be bored and be like, I don't want to play this anymore. And I just didn't feel like going through it. Other than that, I think it's a good game. I mean, I beat the first level. They got through the first level and beat the first boss, there's like an intro level, and then there's like a couple of intro levels, and there's the first actual level or island, I guess, or whatever. It has a series of levels, and then you fight a boss, and then you go on to the next one. And I beat the first boss, and that was fine and all. It's just, I don't know, I couldn't get into it. It just, I think Crash Bandicoot's, I don't mind platformers, but Crash Bandicoot's never been big in my reservoir of games to play, and it clearly still isn't. But Russ, what do you think Crash Bandicoot 4?
I think the subtitle of it's about time, right? Something like that. It's about time for developers to just release a game that we can play as adults. Please, just release a game that we can play. I'm so tired of platformers. So tired of them. I hate them. I'm tired. Anyway, enough of the drama. This one versus other games, in my opinion, basically boiled down to artwork and storyline and stuff like that. This is a Nickelodeon game. If it was something like Ori or something like that, or something like that, that'd probably be a little bit more enjoyable to me. But this is like I said, like a Nick game. This is a Nickelodeon game, not a Nick game, but a Nickelodeon game. And it's just, I honestly don't think I got more than 3 hours of gameplay total. I couldn't do it. I got through, I think, the first boss maybe. And that was after spending, I think, 15 or 20 minutes on the first level of the island, trying to get the 2 boxes in phase form. There was 2 boxes on the side of the bridge, and there's a bridge, and I wanted to get those 2 boxes more than anything in this life. And number 1, I never got them. Number 2, it about made me kick my cat, which everybody knows I would never do anyway. But in any case, I mean, this is a game for somebody out there, not a game for me. Sorry about the negativity, everybody, but I'm just so tired of these kind of games. I'm just ready for something different. Shane, follow me up on that one.
Game of the year. No. I'm honestly surprised, Nick. I thought this would be more up in your wheelhouse because you do like the punishment. You do like the little sandpaper there. I really like it. I think I am on the last, just starting on the last island. It's a fun game to me. It's very old school, Crash Bandicoot. There's a few new mechanics, that they haven't had before, which works fine for what they've done with the islands and the phasing, which you were talking about. I enjoy it. I think it's a funny game. I think it's a fun game. It's one of those games that I can just drop in and be happy boy. Flashbacks, from the PS1 days, PS2 days. It is definitely a game that does require the love of the classics. That is probably the only issue with the game. My son loves it. He played the heck out of it. My daughter, let me quote her, "What the bleep is this? This is bleeping me off. I'm bleeping." That's my daughter's review. It is a love of an older genre. It really is. I really enjoy the game. I think Toys for Bob did a fantastic job with the love they put into it. The mechanics overall are classic. I wish they would have done a few more new things, little tweaks to give it some 2020s besides the COVID. I enjoy the game. I'm really surprised. I am the only one. Really, I'm the only one probably surprised Nick didn't love it. I really am surprised about that. But I think it's a solid game. I think everybody should check it out. Really, truly. But only if you enjoy the previous versions.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad game by any means. And I really didn't find that difficult. Unless you want to go for, like Russ said, you want to go for the boxes that are outside the main, the main path. If you want to go just down the main path, it's a super easy game. Like, I had no problem going down the main path. But if I wanted to go towards like the bonus portion, where you get on that little spinny question mark tile and you fly off to the little bonus part, or the tapes where you have to go through and do like the box jumping stuff, that can be really difficult. And if you want to get all the crates and everything through the level and everything like that, yeah, that can make the game really difficult. But if you want to go down the main path, I mean, most enemies take like one hit to kill, and you can pretty much spin them to death. And it really wasn't that difficult. I mean, some of the platforming was, and that really came down to the platforming portion. Really came down to you just miss jumping. Sometimes I jump into the flamethrower, I jump into the unknown or something like that, and that's just because that was my stupid. I hit the jump button or maybe when you got the phase in and out. Equipment, sometimes I hit the wrong button where I do the body slam instead of the phase, and then I stop in midair and body slam down and body slam into oblivion, which I didn't mean to do. I meant to phase out the block and phase in a new block, right? So
or you phase into the block like I always did. I always seemed to phase in right as I landed on it, and my pinky toe dipped into it when it phased in, and I would die.
Yep, I did that a lot myself.
I didn't personally run into that, but yeah.
I thought it got fairly difficult, especially when I hit the fourth island. There's a lot of the, I guess you would say, the 2.5D background you had to go hit with some of the rope swings and stuff. And that was all, the rope's probably the only part of the platforming that killed me because it was really hard to tell that angle that rope was running. So I wish they would have done something a little different with that. But it can get difficult, especially though, like you were saying, those little bonus worlds. I recorded one I tried 23 times just because I was desperate to get through it.
Yeah, those bonus worlds are pretty tight, pretty tough. And but I do agree. I think Toys for Bob did a really good job with this. I mean, it's definitely classic Crash Bandicoot. Again, for me, I wasn't really that big into Crash Bandicoot back in the day, right? Crash Bandicoot for me wasn't really a title that I really not much cared for back in the day. It was a good platformer game, but it wasn't one that I went out and, like much like Spyro. Spyro's the same way for me. A lot of people love Spyro and Crash, and back in the day that I really didn't care about Spyro and Crash. I would play their games here and there, but it wasn't one like, oh, a new Spyro's coming out or a new Crash is coming out. So I just didn't really care about those titles. And I think that's just, kind of came to this day and age where, again, I still don't care about those titles.
Were you a Ratchet and Clank guy, or
No. A lot of the PlayStation platformers I didn't really care for. Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, I never played any of them. I didn't really care for any of them. The only platforming game that I guess really the only platformer that I really cared for in the most and still care for this day and still love this day is any Mario platformer or Banjo. I did love Banjo Kazooie, and then any Mario platformer, Blinks the Time Sweeper, those classics. But no, I mean, I do like platformers, but it's kind of one of those things, like, I gotta really be in the mood to play a platformer, I think is for me personally. I probably would have loved Crash more if I was in the mood, and I'm not in the mood for a platformer very often. So it's kind of like you just got to hit me on the right day to want to play a platformer.
I think we're being forced to play a little bit too many of these platformers right now because there's nothing out. So we're having to play a little bit too much of these.
This month is really pretty bad for games.
Yeah, it's a dirty
I'm going
month.
to tell you what. Yeah, I felt the same way. I mean, I don't mind platformers, but something in the platformer has to pull me in, and I felt that Crash just didn't do it. There was nothing in there. I mean, it's got rail grindies, it's got the different abilities you get from the different masks, the quantum masks and stuff like that. Did anybody play as Coco? I played a couple of rounds as Coco because I thought maybe she had some different abilities.
I did. I played as Coco. Yeah.
And she didn't. So,
and I traded out the skins too. That was cool. I flipped out the skins here and there. I played level, be like, hey, I want to do this skin. Let's just do this skin on this level. Cool.
Well, Pat, were you into any platformers? Because I don't think I've ever heard you really get into, but we never really discussed platformers.
I like platformers. It just has to be, I mean, who didn't like Mario? Mario's a platformer,
Mm-hmm.
What would you, I'm trying to think of some good ones that I liked. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily consider Ori a platformer, but it is a platformer. You jump around, you move around, you grab little things, move. I love Ori. I love all of the Ori games.
I would consider Ori a platformer. It's got some RPG elements, but it's definitely a platformer.
It's like I would say
too.
Yeah, I would say it's like more action than platformer, but you do get abilities that allow you to do things. Right. I don't mind a good platformer as long as the main objective of the platformer is not jump. But that's what Crash Bandicoot is. It's like do this jump, and I have a tendency in platformers to over jump everything. It's just the nature of it, And especially with a thumbstick, you're just like, it's so easy just to over jump stuff. So I found like when you're jumping and trying to land on the tiny gears in Crash Bandicoot, I would have to keep my eye on the shadow because they had the little circular icon shadow. And I'd be like, oh, and then I would go a little bit too far and I'd overcorrect. And next thing I know, I've just bounced back too far or something. Or I just get impatient sometimes. And when you're fighting in the earlier stage, really what pissed me off in the early stages was the guys that swing the giant sword and spiked sword. They have to time the jump just right to jump over their swing and on top of them because it seemed like they can reach all the way to the backside of the map. And if you jump anytime in their swing, you're done. And so that frustrated me because I probably died in this one little scene in the beginning probably 5 or 6 times just because I got impatient where I just wanted to jump and go and go and go and go. And then I gave up on the little boxes that Russ was having trouble with on the bridge. Early on, I'm like, screw this. I'm jumping and phasing and it's not hitting just right. And then I land on the platform, but the box is phased out. So I have to jump and phase in the box and bounce over just in time. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done.
Yeah, that's
So
definitely the Twitch part I knew you were going to not like, because you
right.
do have to just dead focus and dead time it. There was one where you're riding the platform, there's a box, there's a wall, you got
Yeah,
to
you got to duck down,
platform
go under,
through
come
it.
up.
Oh no, you have to phase the wall in and phase
Yeah,
the
yeah,
wall out for the
yeah.
platforms. And yeah, I've got a lot of death on that, but I made it through. I really enjoyed that though, and I think it is because I did enjoy Crash a lot when I was younger. Crash, Gecko, freaking
Gex.
yeah. I mean, you know,
Bubsy.
Bubsy. I was not a Bubsy fan. Sorry,
Yep.
but
I will say
those
though,
are.
a
Go
lot of
ahead.
my deaths are due to Twitch abilities. It's like you got to jump and phase in, or jump and do this at exactly the right time. And I would always just get my buttons mixed up, and sometimes I would phase when I meant to jump, or
Mhm.
something stupid like that. Or I would mean to do like because if you hold down, like on the controller, you hold down B and then you press A and then A again, you get like a really high jump. And a lot of times I would hold down the B button and get ready to hit the jump button, and instead I would hit the phase button and the floor drop out from under me. And I'm like, can I not remember how to play a platformer? Can I not remember that, B is to jump, B is to duck, and hold down, and A is to jump? But sometimes I just hit the trigger, and I'm like, oh, come on, stop phasing out the floor while I'm trying to jump. So a lot of my deaths are attributed to just my fingers can't follow my brain.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. Rust is there any old platformers that you were into that this gives you feels for? Or?
No.
All right, good answer. Good answer.
I mean, I played Mario. I mean, you go way back in Contra and but there's like Patrick was saying, like Little Big Planet and Ori and those games there. I mean, I know maybe they're not typical platformers, but they're still considered platformers, and those games are gorgeous looking games. They're very unique in that setting. This is a 1998 platformer, just updated a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, people who love these games are going to enjoy it. It is well put together. It's not a overly buggy game. It's not, I mean, to each his own, but I think I'm just having a little burnout on these games. Like, I'm just completely burnt out of these kind of games, especially when it comes to reviewing. I don't know if maybe I'm getting like old man get off my lawn again on this one, but I just don't know how else to put it. It's not a bad game. Nick is absolutely right. You are absolutely right. It's not a bad game for those that love this type of genre.
Yeah, and it really does come to the classics. My son, he's played a lot of the older games. That's why he enjoyed it. My daughter, she basically sticks to the new stuff. That's why she did not enjoy it. I'm old as dirt, and I love it. Um,
I mean,
the graphics,
yeah.
the graphics are great. The controls are really tight. It is just your type of game. It has to be your type of game.
Well, and I think a lot of it has to do with the content. I mean, to me, Crash Bandicoot seems very childish. I mean, I like Limbo. If you played Limbo or if you played like Earthworm Jim, I love that stuff, dark comedy type stuff. But and then, Oddworld. Oddworld's another platform. I love that type of stuff.
Don't
I
forget
never
Toe
did play.
Jam and Earl.
Oh yeah, but I mean, is Toe Jam and Earl really considered a platform? I thought that would be more like an adventure game. I mean, I
I
guess.
think originally
I
it
wouldn't
was a
say a
platformer.
platform. No, it's always been the
Right.
same type. I mean, when we played it on that remake, that's exactly how Toe Jam and Earl was back on the
Yeah, that's
Genesis.
true.
Right. And then, I mean, I loved Sonic the Hedgehog as a kid. I played so much Sonic the Hedgehog. I just never was a Banjo
As a
Kazooie.
kid.
Yeah, as a kid. But I mean, I would still pick up Mario 64 today and play it. I mean, that's
Oh yeah, I
And
play
Sonic, but
Sunshine.
Sonic Mania was really good, which came out
Right.
like a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
right. And I like Donkey Kong. I like that game. I don't know what there is about Crash Bandicoot. I just never was a huge fan of it. I can't get into it then. I can't get into it now. I don't know if it's the I don't know what it is about the game, but it just never appealed to me. And then now it just kind of cements it home for me that I pushed this game further than I would have pushed another game. It's just not
Yeah.
for me. But I can pick up a Sonic game and play it today just fine. And a Mario game. I don't know. I played the last Mario It's, to me, Crash Bandicoot's story is a little boring. It's and maybe it's because I'm coming into it late, but the story in this one, I'm like, oh, cool, it's got some time travel stuff, and then I'm like, oh, the quantum masks and this and that, and the bad guys seem kind of just weird and generic. But like I said, never a fan. I like Conker's Bad Fur Day, stuff like that. Just
Yeah, but
I
I
like
know
a
why
good
you like
platformer.
Conker.
Well, that game's pretty depraved. That's why I like it. So.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's just this is just a platformer that just doesn't speak to me, I guess I should say. It is what it is. I don't think it's a bad game. It's got really good controls. It looks pretty cool. It looks pretty. It's not like old school looking graphics or anything like that. It doesn't throw back to the 8-bit days or 32-bit days. But just not a game that I could get into. And I tried. I mean, I played multiple sessions, but I found that I just died too much to get enjoyment out of it. I would die at frustrating points where I'm like, I just died a stupid mechanic because my finger pulled the trigger too quick, and I jumped halfway through a phased wall and it phased in on me and killed me, or I would catch my pinky toe jumping over a guy and it would catch it on his teeth or something. I don't know. So I just felt just too frustrating for me to enjoy.
Yeah, and I agree with Patrick. I mean, Crash Bandicoot, exactly what he said. Crash Bandicoot's just not been a franchise for him, he's really been that interested in. And for me, it's the same way. I've never been that interested. Even back on the PlayStation days, I was never that really interested in Crash Bandicoot. I mean, I think the only one I ever played was the first one, and I never cared to play any ones after it. Not that I didn't like the first one. Unlike Mario or Sonic or these other platforming games, it was just never one that I cared to follow. That still relates to me now. As playing Crash Bandicoot 4, I started playing it and I'm like, yeah, I think this is the reason why I never followed that game. A lot of people like it, and I understand why, and I get that. For me, it's just not there.
I think it could use a jump like Mario has. Mario has evolved. The Crash series never really has truly evolved like Mario or Ratchet and Clank or any of those, and that's kind of a sad thing. But I still love what they've done. But I would like to see an evolution to the game itself, because the concepts overall could work really well into a 3D world.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think a 3D Crash Bandicoot would be pretty cool. Kind of go like the way of Mario Odyssey or Galaxy or something like that, or Super Mario World, where you have a Crash Bandicoot world or something like that, where it's this open world instead of this level to level, like just one way, almost like those endless runners kind of, but there is an end to it.
Right. And I think Crash Bandicoot, it's one of those games that it's a platformer that puts more emphasis on patience in a game, if you will. I guess that's the only way I can put it, because in a platformer, sometimes I just want to run and do my thing. And Crash Bandicoot's like, no, you need to slow down and give some patience and thought to this, because a lot of the mechanics, even what I would consider a lot of standard mechanics, they don't quite fit. And the only way I can explain this is like the first time that you do, in the early beginning of the game is what kind of triggered this for me. In the beginning of the game, where you're being chased by I forget his name now, but in the beginning, it's on the first island when you're trying to get off the island, you're being chased by the giant
dragon.
Yeah, and he's chasing you, and you're chasing you into the camera. So the mechanics of that lead to a 3D type game, but the game is very two-dimensional. So what I mean by that is like it's having you duck and slide under these low points and stuff like that, but this game doesn't have the field of depth to play like that, because I found plenty of times where I couldn't judge the distance of something. Like you're running and you're like, okay, there's like this low hanging rock that I gotta slide under, but it looks like it's closer than it is, and I slide and he gets up right before the thing, and I'm like, how am I supposed to judge distance, 3-dimensional distance, in a 2D platformer when you're running at me? So this game did a lot of things like that wrong, where I'm like, you can't do that in a 2-dimensional style game. If you want to do that, you at least need to be running it at an angle where you're either running kind of slightly off from me, so you're not right on me, but when you're running directly at me and you're here and the item looks like it's like an inch away from where your character is on the screen, and you slide, and when you slide and you get up before you even got to it, you're like, that perception doesn't work. And that this game had a lot of perception related issues like that, in my opinion, because of the way that they try to do 3D type effects in a non 3D type platformer.
Yeah, I wouldn't fully agree with that, but I don't disagree either because I know exactly what you're talking about, and it did take me a couple tries to get that feel down. My biggest problem with that perspective issue was with some of the later levels where you end up running away from the camera at a slight angle, and then you have to hit some of those jumps and the ropes. That's where that perspective kicked my butt more than anything.
Right, because the ropes aren't just like dead on. There's like a rope in front, and there's a rope slightly out to the left, and then maybe a little, and then the next one's like really far out to the right, so you got to do even more right stick to get to it. Yeah, and I don't think this game has the depth of field for that type of gameplay.
Yeah, I wish they would evolve the game to more of a true 3-dimensional 2020s game. I think these guys did a great job, and I bet they could do it, and I think they could do it quite well. I think the next one they do should be more towards the Mario Odyssey type aspect of it, and I would definitely give it another try because I think they did a fantastic job on this. But this is a me kind of game, so again, if it ain't a you game, it's not a you game.
I mean, I would give it another shot if they came out with like a Mario 64 style or a Mario, World or whatever style game. I would give that a try because those type of games. I mean, we all remember playing Mario, but I really remember playing Mario 64. I mean, how long did you spend at the loading screen just pulling on Mario's face and his hat, going, "This is kind of cool," And then you get into that 3D world, and you're like, "Hey, he's climbing a tree. Hey, he's doing a handstand on the tree, and I could circle around him." So I mean. This game just doesn't tend to have the depth of field that it needs to try to pull off some of the 3D things it's trying to do. They just don't, in my opinion, they don't mesh well with the game. And so I found the game tedious and difficult because of that type of gameplay.
I don't think they've evolved, right? I mean, that's the thing is you look at Mario, and Mario's evolved, right? Mario's changed. It's not that side-scrolling 2D platformer we used to know. Now it's a 3D platforming landscape, especially with Super Mario Odyssey and, whatever comes next. And it's been that way since, Super Mario 64, basically. Whereas I think Crash Bandicoot and a lot of these other games, they just have to evolve. They have to get away from their traditional, Crash is still that 2D kind of forward pathing platformer that's always been since the beginning. And I think I would revisit Crash if they came out with like a Crash Odyssey or Crash 3D or something like that, like the super 3D world, with Crash Bandicoot. That would be pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, a Crash Odyssey would be a lawsuit. That's what that would be.
Well, it wouldn't be a Crash Odyssey, maybe something else, but something in that vein.
Yeah.
Right. So
has the copyright ran out yet? Can they do Crash Bandicoot 64?
Well, there you go. You can pull his nose at the beginning.
Right. Yeah. You can play around the face. But yeah, that's what I mean. I had a really hard time with that depth of field for the game. So that really bugged me.
I got used to it. Okay. What about you, Russ? Would you play a Odyssey type Bandicoot?
No.
I'm not sure Russ has played Odyssey. Have you
Good
played
answer.
Odyssey?
Good answer.
I've seen it. Bella's got it, and I've seen it. And I probably would play Odyssey because it's Super Mario Brothers. But I'm trying not to be super negative. Like somebody who likes these games will have a great time with it. I'm not a Crash Bandicoot fan. I am not much of a platformer fan. I mean, it's like everything that could go against me in this game is pretty much going against me. I mean, I don't have any like skin in the game when it comes to Crash Bandicoot. I don't have, anything like that. So it's like, meh. I mean, I'm sorry. This is a tough podcast for me.
Well, I really wish
Crash
you guys would have
Bandicoot
been...
was a crash for us.
I
it
really
was a
wish you guys
devastating,
would have...
crash.
Yeah. Next time they do it, they'll make a 3D one, and you're all going to love it. or we'll be having the same conversation again, because by the time they do make a 64 version, we're going to be at 128-bit already.
I don't know if we
Gonna
have
be
another
a-
platformer. It's gonna be like it tastes different -1 because like I'll be like I'm not playing this one. I'm not doing it. I can't do it
We're
anymore.
way past 128-bit.
Yeah.
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 We're gonna be at it's gonna be a Mario plug it into your brain at that point. You're gonna be like, I'm playing Existenz, but Mario
You
style.
are Mario.
You
are.
You are Crash
You'll be
Bandicoot.
like, look, you're in the video game going, oh, I'm an Italian plumber. It's me, Mario.
I've already
You're
found
gonna
my
be in the video
son.
game.
I already found my son jumping in the toilet, trying to get to Mario World.
Shane will be just in the bathroom jumping in the toilet. It's 3D, but I
I'll
can't
go
go
with
down
you,
the sewer
son.
pipe.
Look, there's already turtles floating in it.
Oh,
Oh, is that Toadstool? Oh, no, that's not Toadstool. Well, I really enjoyed the game. I think it's a well worth, I definitely, I'd go $50 on this game because there's a lot of content to it, in my opinion. And I wish you guys would have enjoyed it more. Does anybody have anything they want to throw in before we're done with this? Like, yes.
It's a sale game for me. It's a $20 game for me.
20's still a good buy, though.
Yeah, it means I'd play it.
Yeah, it's a $20 game for me too. I mean, for like Russ said, for the people that like this type of game and like Crash Bandicoot, it's gonna be an A+. Thumbs up. It's gonna be a great game for them. For me, I'm not a big fan of Crash, and clearly still not a big fan of Crash. So for me, it's a $20 game. But for those that like it, they're gonna like this.
Yep, the new mechanics, you might enjoy the new mechanics brought on by the new quantum masks. I think there's 4 of them in the game, so which adds a different ability. When you meet them, you get different abilities, and you use them throughout the levels. So,
And there's multiplayer.
There is multiplayer, huh?
Yeah.
How does that work?
I think it's
We should've
only
tried it.
couch
It's
co-op.
couch co-op.
Yeah, it's couch co-op.
Okay.
Shocking.
So somebody gets to play Coco, and somebody gets to play Crash. Is that how it works?
I think it's 4-player co-op. I think, isn't it?
I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. Me and
Or
the
maybe
boy
it
were
was
gonna
only
try it.
2-player. But yeah, it's one is a race where you get to race through a level, and the other one is the where you jump
come out.
crates. You jump the crates like in the tapes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm out on the race then. You'll hear me cussing quicker than anything on the race. Unless you could trip your friends. Throwing peaches at them
Maybe.
or something. Be like,
Oh.
look, Nick's out in front. Can I lob this peach and knock him off the rail?
Throw that blue turtle shell.
I'd rather have the red one. Just seek you out.
I'd rather just have the star and run through you.
Yeah, you can't catch him, though. Nobody catch Nick.
No.
No, I can see where Shane is at the 50 price point. I can see where the other 20, but that's again, if you like it, maybe it's a $50. Maybe if you are okay with Crash, it's a 20. I would never, ever, ever pay $1 for a game like this if it wouldn't have been for the fact that we're reviewing it. Just my honest truth.
Wow.
I'm
It
actually-
just got dark.
I'm just glad it wasn't my turn to purchase. I think if I would have purchased, I probably would have been like, I don't know, skinning a cat. That's 2 references today for cat. I'm sorry, cat.
I feel bad for your cat. You're going to walk by naked later.
He's going to jump off the dresser down Russ's back.
Mm.
All right. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. Give us that like and subscribe and share to your friends. And until next time, see ya.